There comes a moment in a person's life when the world begins to shift not because they became stronger, but because a divine force has begun to move through them. And when that happens, the enemy notices before anyone else. If lately you've felt battles rise without reason, doors open without explanation, and a strange fire growing inside your spirit, then listen closely. You may be dangerously anointed. He waited the calling begins before the calling is clear. There is a mysterious season in the life of a person chosen for higher purpose, a season where something begins to shift deep within their spirit long before anything around them changes. This inner shift is subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, like the quiet stirring of wind before a storm. But slowly it grows heavier, stronger, and more undeniable. Those who carry a dangerous anointing do not wake up one day knowing they are chosen. Instead, they wake up feeling a weight they cannot explain. This weight is not sorrow, nor fear, nor confusion. It is the weight of a calling forming before it ever reveals its name. It is the pressure of destiny pressing against a heart that still feels ordinary, still feels unprepared, still feels unworthy. In this stage, people feel different without knowing why. They sense that the world around them no longer satisfies them the way it once did. The desires they used to chase suddenly feel empty. The conversations they once enjoyed become shallow. The habits they once kept no longer feel comfortable. Something begins pulling them toward solitude, toward silence, toward depth. They might even question themselves, wondering why they feel disconnected from the very places and people that once gave them joy. But this disconnection is not a loss. It is separation. It is the divine hand carving them away from what weakens them and aligning them with what will strengthen them. Separation is often misunderstood. Some think it means being abandoned, forgotten, or rejected, but in truth, it is preparation. Those dangerously anointed experience this early because a great purpose requires a great foundation. They may find themselves sitting in rooms where they feel like they no longer belong. They may listen to voices that no longer speak to their soul. They may walk through familiar paths and feel like strangers, yet this is not a sign of confusion. It is a sign that they are outgrowing the version of themselves that was never meant to carry their calling. Growth always begins with discomfort. Before the purpose becomes clear, the old identity must loosen its grip. Often, those in this season will experience silence. They pray but feel no answers. They seek direction but receive no map. They feel a pull, a push, an urgency, yet they cannot name it. The silence is not rejection, it is incubation. Just as seeds grow in darkness, so do destinies. In this silence, the divine is rearranging their spirit, sharpening their discernment, and pulling them inward, so they may learn to listen to what the world cannot teach them. This silence is where strength is built. It is where roots grow deep. It is where identity begins to transform. And then comes the isolation. This isolation is not chosen, it is orchestrated. People they loved may drift away. Opportunities they expected may suddenly stop. Circles they trusted may break. But the isolation is not meant to harm them. It is meant to keep distractions from interfering with what is being constructed within. Isolation becomes a spiritual workshop, a place where self-awareness grows, with hidden wounds surface, where clarity forms slowly and painfully, yet powerfully. In isolation, they discover themselves deeply, honestly, and spiritually. They learn to breathe without validation, to walk without applause, to trust without proof. This is where the dangerously anointed gain their inner fire. During this stage, life may feel heavier, decisions harder, emotions deeper. They might carry burdens that are not theirs, feel compassion that is too intense, or sense danger before it appears. Their heart becomes overly sensitive not by weakness, but by divine tuning. The weight they carry is shaping them, molding them, strengthening them. Every tear, every confusion, every unanswered question is part of their refining. A calling is rarely announced with trumpets. It is whispered through trials, through restlessness, through spiritual tension. Another sign is the sudden loss of tolerance for things that drain their spirit. They can no longer sit in negativity. They can no longer pretend to be comfortable in environments that stunt their growth. They can no longer tolerate lies, manipulation, or emotional chaos. Their soul becomes allergic to anything that dims their inner light. Without knowing it, they begin walking toward purity, toward truth, toward higher purpose. They no longer desire what entertains them. They desire what transforms them. Their appetite changes because their assignment is awakening. And in this awakening, they begin to feel a strange inner strength, a strength that was not taught to them, a strength that surprises them. They endure storms that should have broken them. They overcome temptations that once ruled them. They rise from situations that should have destroyed them, not because they trained for it, but because destiny began to breathe inside them. Their spirit becomes heavier. but so does their resilience. They may not see the full picture, but something within them keeps whispering, prepare, echoing again and again, pulling them toward a future only heaven can see. Opposition rises. Even when you have done nothing wrong, there comes a strange and confusing season in the life of someone carrying a dangerous anointing. A season where battles rise without reason and resistance appears without warning. You can walk in peace, speak with kindness, and live with purity, yet somehow storms will find you. People will misjudge you, question you, and even oppose you though you have done nothing to provoke them. This is not coincidence, nor is it the result of any mistake you made. This is the spiritual law of elevation. The moment a divine purpose begins to awaken within you, forces that once ignored you suddenly grow threatened by you. Your presence alone becomes a disturbance to anything that is built on falsehood, fear, or darkness. Those who are dangerously anointed experience this early in their journey. They notice that the more their spirit grows, the more unnecessary challenges arise. They may enter a room and feel tension without saying a word. They may succeed quietly yet attract envy loudly. They may try to live humbly, yet still become the target of hidden criticism. It is not that they seek conflict. It is that their very existence exposes what others try to hide. Light does not ask permission to shine. It simply reveals what is around it. When a person carries a dangerous anointing, they carry that kind of light. And whenever that light grows stronger, opposition grows louder. The confusing part is that this resistance can come from places you least expect. Friends who once supported you may suddenly shift. Family members may begin questioning your choices. Co-workers may misunderstand your intentions. People you trusted may pull away. You may find yourself wondering why everything seems to change at once, why the atmosphere around you feels heavier, and why conversations that were peaceful suddenly become tense. But the truth is simple. Elevation exposes hearts. As your spirit rises, the true intentions of those around you are revealed. Some will celebrate your growth. Others will feel threatened by it, and some will distance themselves because your transformation reminds them of the stagnation they refuse to confront. Opposition often appears right after moments of spiritual awakening. The moment you begin to understand your identity, confusion tries to cloud it. The moment you start healing old wounds try to reopen. The moment you begin to walk in strength, situations arise that attempt to weaken you. This is not random. It is strategic. When a person is dangerously anointed, they become a target not because of who they are at the moment, but because of who they are becoming. Your future intimidates the forces fighting you now. Your potential creates battles you do not yet fully understand. You may notice patterns. People may say things about you that are untrue, and they may do so with surprising confidence. Opportunities that should be simple may suddenly become blocked. Projects that were moving smoothly may drag with unexplained resistance. Things that used to come easily may now feel heavy. You may even feel emotionally drained by situations that appear small on the surface, but carry a deeper spiritual meaning beneath them. This is because your life is shifting realms. What once opposed you casually now opposes you intentionally. Another sign is the rise of unnecessary misunderstandings. You may say something with pure intentions and someone interprets it negatively. You may try to help someone and they accuse you of having motives you never had. You may offer love and receive suspicion, but this is not about communication. It is about atmosphere. When spiritual elevation occurs, the air around you changes. Those who cannot breathe in that atmosphere will react in ways that seem irrational. Their spirit senses your growth before their mind can understand it. During this season, many dangerously anointed individuals feel tempted to shrink themselves. They try to stay quiet to avoid conflict. They try to lower their light so others feel comfortable. They try to please people who have already made up their minds about them. But shrinking does not stop the opposition. It simply delays the recognition of who they truly are. A lion cannot become harmless by whispering. A flame cannot stop burning by being still. And an anointing cannot stop attracting attention by hiding. What is inside you will show itself whether you choose to display it or not. The strangest part is that even spiritual attacks intensify. Thoughts become heavier. Doubts become louder. Old fears resurface. Temptations increase. Distractions multiply. Your inner world becomes a battlefield because your outer world is preparing for transition. This is how the divine sharpens you, not by removing the battles, but by strengthening you within them. You are not meant to crumble under pressure, but to learn how to carry authority through pressure. With every attempt to break you, you grow stronger. With every misunderstanding, you gain clarity. With every spiritual attack, your discernment sharpens. With every closed door, your direction becomes clearer. Opposition. In these moments, becomes a strange teacher, one that pushes you to depend less on people and more on purpose. When a person is dangerously anointed, the opposition is simply confirmation of the power they carry. It is the world reacting to the greatness that is waking up inside them. Miracles, wisdom, and spiritual sensitivity increase without training. There is a season in the life of those who are dangerously anointed when things begin to happen that cannot be explained by effort, study, or human reasoning. Suddenly, doors open that were once firmly closed, and answers arrive before questions are fully asked. Guidance appears in moments of silence, and clarity shines through confusion. Those who are dangerously anointed experience a rise in miracles, wisdom, and spiritual sensitivity that is not earned or learned. It is given. It flows through them naturally, as if the very universe is rearranging itself to accommodate the power that has chosen to dwell within. This is the unmistakable sign of dangerous anointing. The extraordinary becomes ordinary, and the impossible becomes routine. One of the first indicators is an unusual increase in wisdom. People begin to seek their counsel sometimes without even understanding why. Their words carry authority, not because of education or status, but because of the weight of spiritual insight that accompanies them. They find themselves speaking truth into situations where logic fails. They recognize lies before they are spoken and see solutions to problems others cannot resolve. This wisdom is not learned through books or mentors. It is imparted. It is a divine understanding that operates beyond the mind, touching the soul and guiding the heart. Those who are dangerously anointed begin to notice that they understand people and situations on a level that surprises even themselves. Along with wisdom comes sensitivity, spiritual sensitivity that can feel overwhelming at times. They begin to sense danger before it arrives, feel deception before it is revealed, and perceive opportunities before they are visible to the world. Their hearts respond to prayer, their intuition reacts to unseen movement, and their spirit recognizes patterns that are invisible to others. This heightened perception is not a burden but a gift, and it is a hallmark of dangerous anointing. The person becomes a vessel through which the divine operates, and this operation is visible to those who are willing to watch closely. They notice the subtleties in people's words, the energy in their surrounding, and the shifts in spiritual atmospheres that others ignore. Miracles begin to accompany their daily lives. Things that were previously impossible suddenly manifest effortlessly. Problems are solved at the last moment. Help arrives at just the right time. Strength appears when all human strength is exhausted. These miracles are not the result of planning or coincidence. They are the natural overflow of an anointing that moves through them without restriction. Doors open that were never imagined, and people are brought into their lives who serve as instruments of destiny. Even the smallest actions carry extraordinary outcomes because the spiritual power operating through them magnifies their influence. Those dangerously anointed become conduits for divine intervention, whether they are aware of it or not. They also notice that ordinary people are drawn to them without explanation. Broken hearts find comfort, lost souls find direction, and weary spirits find encouragement in their presence. Their energy impacts others in ways they cannot fully understand. Conversations they have seemed to heal hidden wounds. Their laughter relieves tension, and their calm restores peace in chaotic situations. This influence is natural, unforced, and unmistakably spiritual. People may recognize it without being able to explain it, and those who are dangerously anointed are often surprised by the effect they have on others. Another element of this increase is the ability to endure with supernatural strength. Challenges that once would have caused despair now strengthen resolve. Pain that would have broken the spirit becomes a source of perseverance. They discover an inner reservoir of power that rises naturally in the face of adversity. Miracles, wisdom, and sensitivity are accompanied by resilience. This resilience is not learned through self-discipline alone, but flows as part of the anointing, teaching patience, endurance, and unwavering faith in the process that is unfolding. What is remarkable is that all of this occurs without formal preparation. They do not need training to speak truth. They do not need manuals to perform miracles. They do not need courses to discern the hearts of men. It is as though a divine tutor has whispered knowledge directly into their soul. Life becomes a classroom, but the lessons are taught not through struggle alone. They are delivered through experience, through revelation, and through the natural outflow of power that cannot be contained. Those dangerously anointed begin to realize that their lives are no longer ordinary. Their ordinary efforts carry extraordinary results. Their influence is multiplied in ways that cannot be explained by chance or skill alone. This growth also brings awareness. They notice that their insight is different, their intuition sharp, and their ability to sense the unseen clearer than ever before. They become aware of the spiritual currents surrounding them and the hidden purposes operating behind circumstances. Their perception extends beyond themselves, touching the lives of others and shaping events in ways that appear miraculous. They are no longer just participants in life, they become orchestrators of divine timing, even if unconsciously. As their spiritual sensitivity, wisdom, and miraculous influence expand, the world begins to respond. People recognize something distinct about them. Situations bend around them. Blessings manifest in forms that are impossible to attribute to human effort alone. Every encounter, every word, and every action carries weight because the dangerous anointing inside them moves with purpose and precision, shaping outcomes, revealing truths, and advancing destinies.